Hey guys, I'm live with Mec, aka Sean. Um, he is an INTJ or an ILI in Socionics. We used to do a podcast together called My Type of Shit. Some of you might remember it.
The OGs remember.
Yeah, I really want to bring it back. It's just so
Not the same.
it wouldn't be the same. But I feel
Yeah.
like there could be a way of like making it like a revival. It's just we gotta get in the works about it if we want to do it. Which I'm down to do it. I don't know. Like you are completely fine to not
I
want to
mean,
do it.
those were better times. They were better times. But
Back in the day,
I mean, it wouldn't be the same without Michelle.
yeah, it
It
wouldn't
was
be.
good. It had more potential in it. I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again one day. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's been thrown in the air a couple times, but we don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we also didn't expect for 2020 to be the way that it was.
Yeah, I hear
Um,
that.
yeah, obviously I also had some issues going on personally that you knew about
I
at the
actually
time.
got COVID.
You
I got
did.
it. I got it like this month. Basically,
Whoa.
my sister got it like on her birthday, and we all went out to dinner with her, and a bunch of the other girls were drinking off her. And so my dad ended up testing positive, and he didn't even go to dinner with us. But when she came back after dinner, she must have gave it to him, and then the whole house had it. So I
Wow.
had it. I didn't even get tested because I already knew everyone else in the house that got tested positive. There was no point. I might as well just not even. But everyone felt that it was what it was. I don't know. It was pretty mild, I think. I think it hit my dad the hardest.
How old is your dad?
He's like 49.
What? Your dad's
Yeah,
really young.
yeah, they had kids young. They had kids young.
Wait, how old is your oldest sister?
My oldest sister's 27.
Oh my gosh, they really were really young when they had
My mom's
kids.
53. My dad's 49.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that your mom is older.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But yeah, I mean COVID, it's nothing worth being that scared about. If you're older or fat, I always say maybe, but
Oh my gosh.
If you're young, you're probably gonna be fine. That's what I say, and it's just the truth. It's just the truth. The survival rate on young healthy people is so high that they have to like fish for like the 121-year-old healthy athlete. I don't even think athletes die at all. Like I'm pretty sure whole teams get it and they're fine. But it does kill old people and stuff. So I don't know. But yeah,
Interesting.
that's just my take on it.
So, obviously we've talked many, many times in the past, but I'm going to kind of put the spotlight on you today and have you dig into your childhood and your
Mhm.
past traumas.
That's fine. Well, nobody.
Okay.
I always say nobody makes it to age 18 without being at least a little bit fucked up.
Yeah.
Because if your parents don't fuck you up, then school will. If and it's not the teachers, then the kids will. So, and I don't mean it as some like everyone's gonna be a victim thing. To me, the way I see it is like everyone's kind of equally amount of a victim. Like in this life, like to me, you dealt a hand, you play it the best you can. Like everyone's gonna have traumas. Everyone has to deal with their parents dying. Everyone's dealt with loss. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's dealt with unfair treatment in some way, shape, or form. Everyone's dealt with betrayal and stuff. So I really just don't like victim mentality at all because I think it holds people back from development. That's just my opinion on it. But but yeah, I mean, my childhood, I feel like I always hated being a kid. And whenever I think back on it, I always remember how there had to have been a point in which I stopped hating it. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like when I was really young, I really hated it. And people always tried to make it seem like when you become an adult, it'll be just as bad. And it's so just not true. Like it's just like infinitely better in all of the things that I hated when I was a kid, which was mostly just authority and like people always like just controlling you just for the sake of being controlled. Like they have a bad day, so they take it out on you and stuff like that. That stuff. was stuff that I knew I hated, and people tried to make it seem as if, I don't know, like, just wait till you get older. I don't know. They always say like you were never allowed to complain about school as a kid because adults would always say, well, just wait till you have to work. But then you work and it's like way better. It's just so much better. And so it's like, wow, they just lied the whole time, didn't they? Like that's weird. Like that what they just said that to make themselves feel better or something? You know, like that's just weird. That's how I always felt. It just confirmed those suspicions again. And I think recently I heard some kid ask, like, does it get better? What once you're out of school? And it's like, I don't see how anyone could answer that question and not say yes, it does get better. Because the things that make your life hell as a kid are objectively they're not present once you're an adult. All this being controlled and totally being indoctrinated and just like they're just jamming all this information down your throat. You're not really allowed to be your own person. You have to obey orders from this person, that person. Everyone's just trying to exercise their power over you. For that, yeah, maybe you do have to deal with a little bit of that at work, but at least you're getting paid, which is money is freedom in its own way. So you're at least getting something out of the deal compared to when you're a kid. You're kind of just being institutionalized, thousands of hours thrown at something, which is an inefficient way of being taught. I mean, learning isn't something that you can just learn. You don't just like the way that the school system is doesn't really help you learn that much anyway, in my opinion. Like it's more memory based. It doesn't really help intuitives. Like it seems to be broken down into the lowest common denominator. I think it's useful for the fundamentals of life, which is why I think elementary is the most it's probably the most acceptable form of school. But middle school on, the things that they teach you, it seems like it's kind of just whatever. Well, you could argue though that middle school and high school are important for the simple fact that being socialized is a skill in and of itself. And so the social environment of middle school and high school is something that's never really forgotten in your brain. Like the fact that you're thrown into something like that could be considered beneficial for the rest of your life. So if you just take that out, maybe it isn't the best idea. And I don't get how you're going to substitute a socialized environment. Like you have all these kids nowadays who are just like, what are they doing? Like Zoom school and stuff. Like, yeah, I say I wished I would have had that as a kid. Sitting at home playing MW2, not even paying attention to the Zoom class. That would have been great. But I don't know. It seems like the social environment's a little bit too critical. So it seems like the benefits that are yielded from elementary are just the fact that they're actually brute force jamming information into your brain that's actually beneficial, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fundamental concepts of life that you use on a day-to-day basis, right? But it seems like that information becomes slowly less useful as you hit middle school, and it becomes even less useful as you hit high school. But it seems like the social environments, everyone hitting puberty, things like that, to be in a social environment around that time is critical. So it does seem like there's still value in it somewhat, but the whole system screams inefficient to me. And what I mean is there's just a lot of wasted hours. There's no essence of like, well, we just taught you the class is an hour long, but we taught you it in 20 minutes. Go ahead, leave. Like go like save your precious time clock. There's none of that. It's just an inefficient, well, we gotta wait, go do whatever till it's over. That's something that's really despicable about school is just the complete lack of regard for people's time. It seems like they just don't care. It seems like they just don't care how inefficient it is. And it's inefficient too in the learning front. Learning isn't something that's done through memorization. You'll be much better off learning through pain or learning through being interested in it or like, I don't know. This seems like memory isn't always the way about it. Maybe for the fundamentals, but a lot of the times when people learn things, it's because they're working on a project they love where there's emotion behind it. There's no emotion behind school. So therefore I resented it. And I was the kind of kid who either aced the class or failed the class or got like a D. You see what I'm saying? Like I either cared or I didn't, and that switch was very present, but it wasn't even just present on like a year to year scale or a semester to semester scale. It was present on literally a class to class scale. Like I would go to one class and it would be like it was like a government class in like 11th grade or something. And I didn't know that much about, Congress and all that, so, like, I was really interested, and, like, every time the teacher said something, I would, like, raise my hand to the point where, like, I didn't even raise my hand anymore. She just knew I would talk out loud to ask her a question, and then it just became this, like, conversation between me and her. She knew when she talked, I was gonna talk, and everyone was just listening to us talk. I would always ask questions and questions about everything. But then the next class, I would just, like, I wouldn't give a shit. I would just sit on Hearthstone, not even care. Teacher would hate me, fail me. I didn't even care, just because it was like just some class I didn't care about. You know what I'm saying? So my GPA in school was never really that. It never was that good by the end, just because I already knew it was a meme from the beginning. I knew GPA didn't matter unless you're going to like a really good school, really good college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was I always learned from YouTube. I was on YouTube from like that's the thing about my life is like I was on YouTube before I even hit puberty. So, like, I used to watch these YouTubers, and back then everyone was really formal on YouTube. There was no, like, identity. Like, here's for example, like, you have a YouTube channel, right? You kinda talk to your viewers, like, it's a conversation to your viewers, right? Like, it feels like you're talking through the screen to them. But back in 2010, YouTube wasn't like that. Everyone who had a YouTube channel, like, even if they were saying something personal, it was a really formal place. Like, they didn't speak so informally to their viewers. It was like, when they opened up, they felt kinda weird about it, and there wasn't, like it was like you just didn't say everything that was on your mind on the internet back then, you know? But yeah, I watched a lot of, like, YouTubers, of, like, video games and stuff that I used to play back when I was young and stuff. And so I probably learned more from just watching YouTube back in middle school and high school than I did from school. But I do think that the social environment is important, and I think that I don't know. That was what my at least is the school front of my childhood goes, is toward high school, I was I either cared or I didn't. And then yeah, that was pretty much it. But I always really resented how much time it took out of my day. I always did. I've always been like anal about my time. I don't like wasting time. So it seemed like school just was never good at that. And I did try college out a few times, but then I realized I was just going to go. I was going because I was lost. I wasn't going because I had a plan, which is stupid. Don't do that. If you don't have a plan, if you're not like, I'm going for this major, I want to get this exact thing, I don't really think it's the most efficient way, because a lot of people end up dropping out or withdrawing or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to waste money. You don't want to waste time. You know, you don't have to do anything in this life. You don't have to have kids. You don't have to get married. You don't have to go to college. It's just about, I don't think you should just do something because you don't know what else to do. I don't know. Maybe there is a such thing as like, I'm just doing this to kill time. But I don't know. I don't know if college is the best thing to do just to kill time. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, that's that. But the thing is even though school took up a lot of my time as a kid, that was never what was on my mind. I would say for um I don't know when it really kicked in. I played video games even before puberty, but especially around puberty, like, I don't know, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever that main area is. I got really, really hooked on Call of Duty. I played a ton of video games. I pretty much played a shit ton of video games as a kid. Um, so I played that, and that was what took up majority of my brain. It was all I could think about. It was like a drug, you know. Um, It was crazy. I didn't think about girls. I didn't think about school. From middle school on, all I thought about was COD. It just took over my brain, which is the case for a lot of uh, young men. From what I understand, with like when men hit puberty or something like that, that was around the time that older, like back in tribal days, the older men would go teach the younger men how to hunt. So I think first person shooters replicate that process a little bit. It's like a simulated version of like what you used to do in, ancestral times. So that's what I get from that is like, and that's why I think a lot of people, especially once they get a little older, they grow out of games, they grow out of shooters and stuff, because it's like this initial rush, I think, for around that time, testosterone's high and shit. So. But and then it's also around middle school, around when women are hitting puberty, you see that major boost to like, reputation and socializing and creating social networks, you know talking with other girls about, does he like you? Does she like you? See, it's always about relationships and socializing and stuff. So not that men don't socialize, but they do it in a little bit of a different way. They still have a way of grounding themselves on like a purpose or a mission or a goal or sports. Guys are in sports. I was never a sports guy. My mom actually put me in sports when I was in elementary, and I hated it. I always hated it. It was always kind of a shame that I seemed like my mom didn't. I don't know. Like if I talk to her about it today, she'll say like, "Well, we were just seeing to see if you liked it," but it was like apparent I didn't like it. It was always apparent that I liked games more. So it seemed weird that she was putting me in sports. Like it was clear that it was just that she wanted me to play basketball, not because I wanted to play basketball. And so I think before puberty, for everyone, I think it's harder to make your own decisions, or like it's very easy to just be in a program because your parents put you in it. How many kids under the age of 12 are in something just because their parents shill it or their parents put them in it? Probably a lot, right? So I think once you do hit puberty, you start to become your own person. You have your own beliefs. You start to formulate your own beliefs, but you also start to formulate your own hobbies, or whatever was present before becomes even more present. That's your thing, right? So yeah, that was that. I did really like school in elementary. At least I liked learning. I still like learning. It seemed like elementary is a lot more about learning than the others. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's that. I did learn the Rubik's Cube in 6th grade. I don't really think there's much else. Like I just liked challenging my brain. I always have liked challenging my brain. But school never felt that. You know what would make school a lot more fun, but people wouldn't want this because they're too soft nowadays, is like a leaderboard. Like a real time, like in real time leaderboard, like on the walls, like a digital one that updated like GPA or something that made the winners look higher and the losers look like something like that. Like, make it fun, like make it
Oh
competitive.
my god.
Like make me walk past and see, man, I'm only 300th place. Like let me turn up. Like there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. There's no sense of instant gratification in schools. Everything is just very boring, mundane. You figure out your grade the next week. You figure out your GPA the next semester. So it just seemed like a really low. Yeah, it didn't seem very gratifying. It doesn't seem like it reinforces that will to try or to compete. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So yeah, that's that. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think that correlates with me not wanting to like challenge my brain. I always liked challenging my brain. So yeah.
I mean, as far as like not liking school, I feel like there's a lot of people that love school, like absolutely love school. And I think it's really different personalities. I definitely think that memorization in that whole school environment is definitely more SI ridden, like
Yeah, for
introverted
sure.
sensing. And
100%.
so yeah, like ESFJs, ESTJs. I wouldn't
Yeah, I
even
knew guys that mentally I would say things that would blow them out of the water, but their GPAs were far higher than mine. So it really showed that they took it really heavy because of their parents. Their parents were strict. Like me and my parents, I think from middle school on, my parents knew not to fuck with me. Like they knew not to try to ground me or anything. Like they pretty much just let me be my own person, which I foolishly at the time thought was a good idea. And it really wasn't. Like I thought I was good enough to make my own decisions, and I made a lot of probably not the best decisions in my youth. Like I think just in general, I thought I knew it all a little too young, and I do think it was good that they left me alone to learn these lessons the way I did. I'm not happy with, or I'm not unhappy with the way my life went at all. I'm perfectly fine with the way that it went. But I'm just saying, it's kind of funny how looking back, I thought that it was like, okay, just let me be my own person, and then they actually gave me what I wanted, and then it turns out like, wow, like I actually still did need an authority figure. The problem was when they acted like authority figures, they just had the whole thing wrong. You see, so and this is the problem with a lot of people and why they end up broken, is that a lot of people also have bad relationships with like one or sometimes both parents. And the reason for this is because humans naturally, when they're young, even when they're old, period, they need authority figures. They need some kind of guidance and stuff like that. And so the problem comes is when your parents, you need them to be the authority figure to you, but they're just inefficient at doing it. So they let you down. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate when they let you down and it's really unfortunate to be a kid and to look at your parents like this invincible creature, like kids always do. Like, wow, every time you have a problem, they fix it. You see what I'm saying? And then to grow up and find out that they're just another person. That's it. That's all they are. They're just another person. They're not that invincible entity that you thought they were. That's a little bit crushing once you become an adult. It kind of hurts. And I think a lot of people end up resenting their parents, almost like you lied to me, but it wasn't their fault. They were just other people, you know? They were just following their biological desires. They just had kids, and that's all there was to it. So I don't hate my parents, right? Despite being extremely different from them, I'm glad that they gave me, you know, my distance to be my own person and stuff. In the end, inevitably, the best case scenario would have had like some kind of AI be the authority that always made the right decision, that made sure I was always making the right decision. The problem is I was imperfect, parents are imperfect, and that's the reality for most people. Your parents are imperfect. You're imperfect. It's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we talked about it, but my parents are definitely not perfect. I don't think anybody's are, and I am pretty
Absolutely not.
different from my parents, especially my mom.
Mhm,
Even though, like, I think a lot of people, well, not really a lot of people, but some people may think that we're kind of similar,
mhm.
in the sense that, like, I might resemble her physically,
Right.
but she's my mom, and
Obviously.
we just have very different personalities. And I agree with you, like, I don't think that really that veil of her being a human being really came off until I went to college because
Mhm.
I was that heavily under control. Um, and
Well,
that's really because she was a pretty good mother, and she was good at disciplining us. And my sister is kind of the same way as you, even though she still disciplined her. She knew that she couldn't really tell her what to do, um,
yeah. Right,
and
right.
like
It's like
left
a
her
certain
alone.
certain kind of kid. You're like, all right, I gotta let that kid go.
Yeah, but I
You know
would
what I'm
I
saying?
would really kind of just do whatever she said.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's an FE thing because my younger sister's like that. Like she's real buddy with my mom, but then I don't know. It seems like
Yeah. I
it's
wasn't buddy
PE.
buddy with her. She like always made it clear that she was our mother and she
Haha.
wasn't our friend.
Yeah, that's good.
Um yeah, but it was more of a thing that I just really looked up to her. And my dad has a very different personality to her. And then when I went to college and I like didn't do what she said on different things, it just became like a huge thing. And then having to come back here during COVID because, as you know, which I won't get into on here, but I ended up having to like break my lease early
Yeah,
for
yeah.
different reasons. And then I ended up staying here longer than I thought, but luckily I am going to be moving very soon in early May, so very excited about
That's
that.
good.
With no
That's exciting.
roommates.
Change is
No,
good. Change is good.
yeah,
That's good. Living on
yeah.
your own, that's good too. Um, what I was gonna say about the whole parent thing is, I mean, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Make no mistake, I was raised by computers, like, period. Everything I pretty much learned from life, I learned from YouTube early on, or I learned from, you know, as I grew up. You know what I'm saying? Reddit, when you know all these sites start to suck, I always move to the next place, wherever the next information is. So I learned mostly everything that's useful in life from the internet. So it's not the same. It's like in some sense, I know it sounds a little bit fucked up, but like my parents weren't needed as much because I had a replacement authority figure. But there are certain things you just can't replace, like you need. And so like when you say like your mom was a mom to you, my mom was a mom to me too. And still to this day she is. She's a team player. She's not perfect. You know, she has her own bad days and then she takes it out. To me, I just try to respect the fact that, you know, people they have their ways of expressing things. You know, sometimes they just like to destroy. You know, they're in a bad mood. They just want to destroy shit. I just try not to let that tear me down. You know, I get people are destructive. That's just how it is. That's mostly everyone. People. I don't know why it feels that way, but it seems like a lot of people, they haven't dealt with their own internal problems, so their way of dealing with this is just take it out on other people. To me, I try not to be like that, just um, because I don't know, I don't feel like spreading around pain is a good thing. But there are times where I could see people are overwhelmed, and that's what they do. But yeah, and my dad, I was really not close to my dad until actually the last 2 years, really. Um, when I was younger, I really was not close to my dad at all. And actually, there was a period in my teens where I really kind of resented him. But after my first relationship, I got hurt real bad. That actually kind of put some perspective into life, made me stop being so entitled and shit. And then I started to find respect for my father in a lot of ways. And nowadays, I'm probably closer to him than I've ever been. I talk to him almost every day. Like, I talk to him about all kinds of shit. Totally different person than me. He's an ESTP. It's got to be like, the IQ difference is ridiculous. But like, even though the fact that it's like talking to a whole different species, I like it because I can find the things in him that are commendable, find the differences in him that are commendable, and find respect for him through those things. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. They end up disliking their father over their mother, or a lot of people look for traits in their father that that they see in their mom. They're like, my mom's always nice, but my dad is this. The thing I always try to say is like, you got to find respect for your father in something. He has to be competent in some way, shape, or form. There has to be something in him that he's competent with. You see what I'm saying? So you got to find that, cling to that, find respect for that. Like, the way I always say it is, I don't care how hard you have to try. I don't care how piece of a shit your dad is, because a lot of them are trash. I'm not going to lie. People will blow you away with just how pathetic they can be. But you have to try your hardest to find something in your father that you respect. I think that goes a long ways. And it has for me. So that's just my opinion. Back when I was more entitled, you know what I'm saying? That's not how I was. I always thought I knew better. I hated the fact that he didn't come to me. I hated the fact that he wasn't like my mom. Like I said, a lot of people look for traits in their dad that you normally would find in your mom, like, to be there emotionally and stuff. Like, they're usually meant to be distant, right? They're usually out, like, even ancestrally, they were out working. They weren't always around. This idea, my father is never around. It's pretty common. That's not something to hate him over. You know what I'm saying? The fact that he's not always around is not something to hate your dad over. That's just my opinion. What you need to do is find out what is he doing while he's not around, and find out how he's good in that way. Find out how he's dominant in that thing, and respect him for that. Or it's not like a task. It's like, once you see his competence, you should be able to see. The respect should just follow. But you know what they say. I don't know. A lot of people say that girl has no father, that dude has no father. It's a lot of weakness in modern era could come from the lack of that. Who knows? I don't know, but I know me. I know I've found my way, even though my dad's a completely different person than me in a million ways. I've found the things I like about him. That's pretty good. My mom, I gotta say, I'm pretty over living with her, but she's a team player. The problem is her quirks. Everyone has their quirks, so you can't really hate someone for their quirks, right? Sometimes she's just having a bad day and she takes it out in a way that just I don't like. But that's just her quirk. That's just the way she is. At the end of the day, she mostly is a team player, so I can look past things like that, My sister's really not on the best vibe with. I gotta say, I'm really not. My sisters, I'm not currently on the best. I really don't like how they are
all of your
nowadays.
sisters, or which one?
All of them. I really don't like it. They don't respect me, and I don't like that. To me, I don't like that at all. They're very entitled. They're very bitchy. I don't like it. Something rubs me the wrong way. It really does. I don't know why. It seems that way, but I don't like the entitled, constantly. It feels like they just look at me in all the ways that I just don't like in females. Like, they how do I say it? Like, they just look at me for my utility. Like, why am I not helping out around the house? And just like things like that. They don't treat me like a person. It seems like that. So
I think
I don't fuck with that.
calling women females could be triggering to some people.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that like to them. I'm just saying in general, like yeah. I mean, this is some females are just entitled, and I feel like they all are. I'm not saying all females are like that, but I'm saying like I would never look for the traits that my sisters have in a significant other, if that makes you feel better. If that's a better way of putting it. Because I just feel like they're unattractive traits. You see what I'm saying? And it's not any different. It's not like you can treat me different as a person. Well, I guess you can, but not the way they do it. You see what I'm saying? So
For those of the people in the chat that don't know what your sister's types are, can you go over?
Yeah, so older sister INFp, she's 20, she's 27. She's a flight attendant. Middle sister, interestingly enough, an ENTP, which I'm pretty sure is an accurate test too. So a female thinker, pretty cool. She's probably the coolest one just because she's always had that natural social, like, even though they hop on board and they enable each other to be kind of, negative toward me in ways that I don't like. I think Amanda's the middle one's the cooler one. But she's not cooler in the sense that the other two aren't as cool. It's just like she's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like she's always had that vibe that people like. So it's not fair to compare. You see what I'm saying? But in general, she's just cool. You can't. There's things about her you just could never hate. And then the younger one's ESFJ, same type as my mom. So that's the whole family. ESFJ younger sister, ENTP younger sister, ENFP older sister, and then ESTP father. INTJ male. I think I'm the what? Am I the only introvert? Yeah, I'm the only introvert. So, and they know it too. It's totally obvious. Like, doors shut. Like, I'm always been like that. They never understood why. They never got that. Like, totally gaming all the time. A lot of them think I could do so much better social wise, but I don't value it. I don't have a lot of people in my life, right? The people I let in, I try to like, I give them my all, right? So, but if you're not let in, then I'm not going to give you any, right? So it's like, I don't like, for me, I try to conserve brain power. I try to conserve energy. I think having too many people in my life exhausts my brain. It just doesn't like it. I feel like it's a waste of energy. Most people don't. I don't want to be Machiavellian, but a lot of people don't contribute that much. But it's not always even about that. Like, sometimes it's just about the inefficiency of socializing. You can usually learn a lot more. Don't get me wrong. You can learn through socializing. I think that's the traditional way of learning. It's the way people did it back in the tribal days. But I don't think it's the most efficient way to learn in the information age. I think the modern era heavily favors, introverts in some sense. I don't know. I think just sitting down and learning your way could be better. But,
Did your sisters like school?
I, interestingly enough, don't think any of them did. Honestly. So it could have something to do with my parent or my mom. So I think there's 4 parenting styles. I'm trying to remember what they're called. Yeah, so it's authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and uninvolved, right? So authoritarian is strict and uninvolved, right? Like they're not like close with you on a personal level, but they're strict. Authoritative is they're close with you on a personal level, but they're strict. Permissive is they're not strict, but they're close with you on a personal level, right? And then uninvolved is they're not close with you on a personal level and they're not strict. You see what I'm saying? So it's like those are the 4 styles. And my mom's permissive, right? So the fact that they're permissive, like meaning like they're not strict, but they're pretty involved. Like my mom's pretty involved with our lives. That kind of leads to the kind of kids who end up like, smoking or drinking at a young age or, being degenerate gamers like me, because there's no rules. Without strictness, kids are just going to do what they want, and kids can't make proper decisions, even if they think they can. Generally speaking, they can't. They're just going to they're going to zone in on whatever, the most addictive thing is. So TikTok or whatever. So yeah. So I think the permissive lifestyle possibly led all four of us, despite the personality difference, down a road where school was never that enforced, bad grades were never that punished. So perhaps our brains didn't associate it as that important of a thing. And that led down the path of maybe even types that should have excelled in school not excelling that well.
Interesting.
That's one perspective, I think.
You think the nurture had an effect on it?
I think so. I think so for sure. I think it played a huge effect on a lot of our lives. I think if you threw us in with different parents, we would have got a whole different outcome. I think that's anyone though, personally. Obviously life is nature and nurture, but that's one of those things that could have been nurture. I could see them in a different context, maybe doing better in school. For sure. And I could see if the school system was different, I could see me being obsessed with it and addicted to it. Like I said, the leaderboard example or something else. You see what I'm saying? So yeah.
I think a lot of people, I mean, I think it just depends on the person and like their experience, but I mean, there's a lot of people that feel like they peaked in high school, like that was the best time of their life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think that was the case for me at all. I mean, what do you think that was the best time of your life?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was just pulling up the chat here because I didn't have the chat open for that original part. But so no, I don't think it was the best time of my life at all. I think my life has drastically improved since high school. But I will say that the disillusionment really kicked in like bad. And that has led me down like an existential crisis that pretty much every video on my channel is about. I just can't get over like the meaning of life and just how meaningless it is, and nihilism and absurdism and all these things. Like I just can't stop thinking about, like, my brain just eats itself alive all the time. Like that was never the case when I was younger. So back then life was shit, but I was an idealist. I had these fake perceptions of reality that made it feel way better than it actually was. Like a coward in a way. Like I would run from reality to games, or run from reality to things that made me feel good, that made me feel as if it didn't suck. Okay? Now, my life doesn't suck. It's objectively, like, the external is way better than it's ever been. But my perceptions are far closer to the real thing, which is in essence pretty bleak, pretty negative, right? I mean, life, it isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and when you start admitting that to yourself, you can run into some interesting mental tricks and mental problems and stuff. So that's the word I would use to describe the more last couple of years, is just disillusionment, which is the idea of, you thought something was one way and it just wasn't. It just wasn't. I thought life was this way and it just wasn't. And so that eats me alive, but my life objectively is great. You see how I'm making that distinction there? How externally my life is good, but internally my life isn't? And so for me, I'm always kind of grateful for what I have, but at the same time, I have this everlasting bitterness about me. You see? So it's a little bit of a paradox there.
What about like relationships to you? Like, how have you kind of transformed with that, like in that idea?
Well, that was really what made the disillusionment come about. And that was really the spawn of my channel. I talk about it early on. I don't really talk about relationships much anymore. But so that was pretty much how it went. When I was a video game addict in my teens and just like, like school sucked, so I just needed something to make me not think about how much my external life really sucked. I would just run to games, and I never talked to girls, or if girls talked to me, I didn't pick up their signals. I had no clue how to get laid. No one taught me. I didn't have a father to teach me any type of things like that. Or, I was basically raised by women and computers. And so, and I also had this, my FI didn't value relationships. So a lot of times when girls would show interest in me in high school and middle school, I either wouldn't pick it up or wouldn't know how to react or just totally saturate the whole or like sabotage the whole thing because maybe I just didn't think they were attractive. Like I had really high standards. Like I was like this fucking loser with like high standards. Like I knew I didn't look bad, but generally speaking, I didn't have the social skills or the social status to go along with how high my standards were. So for me, I wasn't going to talk to a girl unless she was one of the best looking. And like, dude, I wouldn't even, looking back, I wouldn't even have been able to pull like an average girl, right? Just because of the way that I approached the social atmosphere. It wasn't in a way that girls would have liked, right? So I grow up, and then after high school, I don't know, I was going through shit, whatever. I think I was dabbling with college a little bit. And so that's when I met my first girlfriend, but this bitch was crazy, like crazy, borderline, cut herself, drug addict, crazy, right? But me, I was just like, I'm gonna fix her, like Captain Save a Ho, like I'm gonna fix her type shit, like crazy. Like I tracked like every drug she took every day, tried to fix her, like just like on some beta shit, just like silly shit, like shit that would never work. Like at the end of the day, I think it can be summed up with is you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped, right? If people are self-sabotaging their lives, you giving a shit isn't going to fix that. And that's just how it goes. And that's a lesson I learned is that you can't help people who don't want to be helped. There's no amount. You could be the best solution in the world, but if they don't want it, that's just how it is. You see what I'm saying? There has to be that emotional drive behind wanting to fix yourself internally first. And if they don't have that, there's no relationship, love, lust, authority, anything from the external is going to help them. Not a YouTuber, not a parent, not a lover, right? So
someone says she sounds like an unhealthy INFP or ISFJ.
Yeah, she was an INFP. She tested as INFP. She is an INFP. I mean, INFPs are already like, they got a little bit of borderline in them as it is, but I mean, not really. Like, we're talking about the real disorder, like cuts up and down the arm shit, right? So naturally, okay, one interesting thing about this girl too is she tested on the dark triad. I don't know if you guys have ever taken the dark triad test, but the dark triad test has 3 things: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Now, I have a theory about relationships that spawned a little bit in the last couple of years, like after this relationship ended, right? So my theory is if you test as higher in one of these than your SO, I think that if bad things manifest in the relationship, that has a potential to really hurt that person, right? Whereas if you guys test around similar levels in the dark triad, you guys aren't going to be able to kind of like betray each other within that same trait. For example, my first girl, she tested the borderline I'm talking about. She tested really high in psychopathy. I test very low in psychopathy. I test very high in Machiavellianism. I test very low in narcissism. So I test literally pretty much nothing on narcissism or psychopathy, but I test very high on Machiavellianism. So
I test low on all of them.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's well adjusted. So, but they're all just really different forms of manipulation in a way, and they manifest in different ways. So now I think my run-in with her gave me some insight, and I think the thing that really hurt me was in the end, her raw ability to just ghost or just go from like caring to not caring so quickly fucked me up in the head really bad. And that's a psychopathy trait, right? To go from feeling something to not feeling something really fast is not something I had ever dealt with in my life. So I had a run-in with a dark triad trait that I was not well adjusted to deal with. Now, my problem is, or not my problem, this is a good thing. And so I haven't had a run-in with a narcissist, really. I mean, my mom tests pretty high on narcissists, like 75%. So you could say it's not a lover, but it's somebody who is directly close to you enough that maybe having a run-in, or there's actually a subreddit called Raised by Narcissists or something like that, where people just share how their parents fucked them up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can attest to certain things.
So I think I've never had an SO, though, that is a narcissist like that, but I'm not really attracted to narcissists. Like, they really don't grab me at all. So I don't know. There's something about them that don't grab me. So I don't know if I could ever have a significant other that would test really high in narcissism. Okay. So that was my theory that spawned from the relationship. But what I'll say, if I could just skip to the jump, whole thing was whatever. Like, it was just full of me making stupid decisions the whole time, trying to fix this girl that could never be fixed. When that ended, it shattered my world. Like, I was just crushed, totally crushed. Then I went down this whole self-development phase, and I think that was when a lot of turning points hit in my life. So, I started actually caring about myself. I started giving a shit. I started realizing what, people. I don't know. I just realized a ton of things about relationships in general. Now I feel like I can be in a relationship and it can be healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, before, I don't think I had any hope. I think I was just too internally weak, but now I don't feel that at all. So, so yeah, that's basically my relationship. So right now I'm in a relationship. So I would, if you go back on my first couple videos on my channel, I talk all that bullshit. Like, I'll never date again, blah, blah, blah. Because that was when I was still fucked up. You see
Well,
what I'm saying?
remember when I've had many conversations with you about
Yeah,
it?
this is the same thing. Like, people, now I know that never say never, whatever.
Well, you're still so young.
I know, but it's just funny how you think like, oh, this hurt me so bad to the point where I know not to go near this again. Like, but it's totally discounting the fact that, like, for example, don't touch the stove because it's hot, but you need to cook, right? You need to use the stove to cook. So in some sense, there's still needs deep within our biology to want to date that I was totally overlooking with that thing. Yes, sometimes dating burns you, but on the contrary, dating is a necessary component of life. So similarly to the stove burns you, but it's a necessary component of life. You need to cook. So it's basically just like that. And I just thought of that just right now. Just that total comparison. I just thought of that like right off the top of my head right now. So, but that's a pretty good analogy, I think. So, but yeah, if you go back to my earlier videos, I say like, never say never, whatever, all that bullshit. Or I say like, I'll never date again. Then a year later passes, I meet this ENFP.
I
She's
still
great.
remember when you first were talking to her.
Yeah, exactly. That was when we were doing the podcast. Is right
Yeah.
around the time that I met her. It was looking bleak. Like, I don't know, she lived far away, but things are working. They're good. And it's a lot healthier. I mean, the way that this girl treats me and my last girl is like night and day. Like night and day. And I think that stems from me just caring more about myself inside. You see what I'm saying? Like, generally speaking, the best way to help your significant other is to focus on yourself and actually accrue the most value outwardly, right? When you can focus on yourself and work on yourself, there's more value generated there, right? So a lot of the problems in relationships often come from you focusing too much on the other person. If all you're doing is staring at them, well, what the fuck? It's like you're not getting anywhere. So if all you're ever doing is thinking about them and how you can make them happy, it's like they would be happy with you improving yourself. You see what I'm saying? They'd be happy with you raking in extra money, taking, or making new friends, and they'd be happy with you improving yourself. So I think that's the thing is, before with that first girl, all I ever thought of was how to make her happy. I didn't think it was totally a cope, totally, running away from reality. Like, everything I did back then was just running away from reality. I think now I'm much more likely to speak the truth, confront the truth, no matter how bad it hurts, but still improve my situation, right? So I don't know. There's a big difference, like I said, between that external and internal, like people can be mentally depressed, but their lives can be good. And so for me, I'm not depressed, but for me, I admit that my life isn't a good spot compared to where it used to be, but that, things aren't all sunshine and rainbows. Life is filled with, I think it was that experience of pain from the first girl that built me, and I needed that pain. I needed that reset in life. I needed that jolt, and so now I understand. Like, I don't know. For me, I know you have different political views than me, but like, I believe there's differences between the genders. I believe that there's different needs to be met within different personality types, different gender, different age groups, different things. I like to be contextual, you know, and so. So yeah, I think contextually speaking, I learned more about what a female wants in a man and what I, what I want in a woman and stuff. That's why I say with my sisters, there's just things about them like I just don't like, and I can't do anything about because they're my sisters. So my best thing to do is to just not associate that much with them, or to distance myself until they treat me with more respect. I don't know how to get more respect from them because I'm as good as I can possibly be. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. I don't know how to help them. Maybe I don't help around the house enough or whatever the
One day
fuck.
you're gonna watch this interview and like want to slap yourself in the face. I feel like you're gonna
Maybe.
be like, "Wow, what a douche."
Maybe. I don't know. Obviously, no. I mean, like, there is a such thing as doing the best you can in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look back at a lot of the decisions I made and know they weren't the best, but at the same time, they were what I thought was the best at that time. And so that's what you have to realize when you look at your past self is that that decision you made is what your brain thought was the best thing to do at that time with the information available. The second more information is available, you're looking in the past with hindsight, it suddenly is like, well, why did I make that decision? At some level, that asking that question isn't that useful at all because you made what you thought was the best decision. So if right now I feel like I'm doing what I could do for them to respect me and they're not respecting me, my best option is to just distance myself from them. That's just my opinion. But
No, I agree.
I get what you're saying.
I think it's also like, also they're your sisters. I think, again, for those of you that don't know, Sean is in his early 20s, so he's still
22.
He's still a little baby.
Yeah, I remember you were doing a live stream recently.
Baby,
yeah,
right?
I'm a Zoomer. You were doing a live stream, and you were like, I'm not 25. You're like, why does this say this? It was in your description.
Yeah, I know.
It was like you copy pasted an old description.
No, it was so I actually got rid of that description. It was like an automatic description.
Yeah.
And I thought it was blank, so yeah, I just deleted it. Yeah.
Man, we're getting older. We're getting older. Does that scare you at all? Do you have anything you need to do as you're aging? This is something I've been thinking about. I mean, it's pretty cliche, but I mean, you could die at any moment. I mean, a lot of people live like they're going to live to 80. I mean, how many people here listening to this are really going to live to 80? Not that many. So you should.
Well, you don't necessarily know that.
Yeah, it's true. We could live to 150. We could live forever. Immortality, technological singularity. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. Car accidents are still a thing. They kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
You could die in a car accident.
Good to be aware of the idea that you're going to die. But I would actually say that finally, after, I don't know, I think I've been this way. Like I have gone through periods of time like this, but I think basically for the last few years, I have felt like it would be kind of always in the back of my mind, like, oh, I could die soon or something, like always thinking about that. And I think that's not really a good headspace to be in. And I also think that one thing I will say about COVID and the pandemic and stuff, I think it's actually really helped me with my mental health. Which a lot of people,
the opposite of what most people say.
Yeah. And I think so this was my journey, I feel like, so it was the beginning of quarantine in 2020, I feel like I just felt this really creative surge. And then of course it's just a little bit of a roller coaster. And then at a certain point I feel like I hit a bottom period where I really felt like I had more of an existential crisis. And then I would say, and the thing was, it wasn't even that, I feel like the beginning of 2020, in March, when we had to stay at home, I was just feeling so creative and just very present. Yeah. But before that, as you know, and more than other people about my situation, only a month before, and even earlier on, I felt so. That was a really hard time. The time that I took off of YouTube, I didn't post at all. It just was
you were going through it.
I was I felt like I was a prisoner in my own like apartment.
You don't want to feel trapped in life.
Well, and especially like with someone that you really do care about.
Yeah.
Like having someone that you really care about, like obviously I didn't, in your situation where you dated that INFp girl, that's different than like my situation because like obviously we weren't dating and it wasn't the same, but it felt very similar in the sense that I like wanted to be there for her, but it just like got really, but yeah. And so I think like the latter half of 2019, really when we stopped doing the podcast, it just so happened that way. But like when we stopped doing the podcast up until like not too long ago, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, I think that was like a very kind of depressing time. And it was also when I stopped doing videos, and it was just like feeling emotionally like suppressed that whole time. And then I started dating someone at that point. I was in a relationship with a really good guy. But like I really feel like that person, it's like the whole saying of like people are in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. I think without him, I mean obviously it was like it was a balanced relationship. It wasn't like one
incompatible.
It wasn't incompatible. It was just I don't think he was the right person for me.
Wait, was the potential being met? Because that's something that could go
well,
wrong.
I don't think we were on the same level as far as like I couldn't really have deep conversations with him. So that was like one thing that was obviously really missing. But like as far as getting along and like doing fun things together and just like being there for me, because like he knew the whole situation and actually he saw like kind of the breaking point. And so
this is my question.
Oh, go ahead.
Was he the best at being him? Like, was he as good as he could have been? Like,
no,
on his potential scale?
No, he wasn't.
Nobody
I think that was
perfect.
No, but like it wasn't even that. Like I know, like not trying to be judgmental, but like he didn't even think he didn't think of himself on the best. Like and he was, and that was something that kind of like got to it too. But like, and I feel like I was struggling to be my best version as well. But like at the time, like he was a very sweet person, very good guy. Like we were compatible in those ways. And then basically the end of March, I broke up with him when I moved back here. And that was really hard. But like at the same time, it wasn't a bad breakup. There wasn't anything that
was it a bad ending? Like was it like a betrayal? Someone
No, there was no bad ending.
That's good.
Yeah, it was
I was wondering that how many relationships can end gracefully? I was wondering that.
I would say all but the one with Frank. I mean, so even with him, like it ended good, and then it was after that, like that it feel like it wasn't really the breakup that was bad. It was like the aftermath. Like I thought we were gonna be like, ooh, it's just like let's be respectful, and then things got out of hand.
Does that annoy you that when you type Pukoki into YouTube, it says Frank James like as a first
I actually have Frank and Frank James blocked from my channel. Not like his profile. Like I haven't been on his profile in a long time. But like I'm saying like the words. People can't type it, I'm pretty sure. Just because.
I mean, we gotta say, I mean, he did blow up.
Oh yeah.
The community was never that big back when we were doing this shit.
Well, and I mean, like, yeah, and I remember talking to him when we were dating that that's kind of the content that he should be doing. Like, that's
I mean, you gotta be happy at anyone who's accelerating the community or meeting some level of potential. Like,
yeah, I have nothing against him. But I'm just saying, like, to be honest, that was the worst. I would say by far the worst.
In terms of betrayal, yeah.
Not even betrayal, but like I wouldn't say that I'm like buddy with any of my exes. Definitely not.
Right.
But like I think almost I would say, I mean, maybe some of my really old, like when I was like 19, but like I would say pretty much anybody that I've like been in a relationship with, if I had to like call them up, like, and something was really going wrong, they would be there for me and vice versa. And I can't say that for him for sure. which I understand, whatever. And like,
It happens.
yeah, and I think the
I
fact
don't
that,
even hate the girl that did me wrong.
yeah, I don't
And if
like
I
have
can't
these,
hate her, I can't hate anyone. I don't have it in me to hate someone. I
yeah.
just don't. I really don't.
Well,
I
and I
really don't.
personally, like, what I've done is I just don't watch his content. I'm not subscribed, you know. I've
Right.
tried reaching out to him
I
before.
don't watch his content either, but I know he pops numbers, and I know he's grown the MBTI community.
Yeah,
So
and I
that
think
for
that's really
that,
great.
I think that's good. I think
Yeah.
anyone reaching their potential is good. But I'm not gonna. I don't have. To me, the skit, like I'm not a skit guy. You know, I don't know. That stuff is like comedy. That's for like I've never been like a comedy guy. Like let's go and like watch a comedy. Like if the whole thing is about it being funny, then I don't care. But like if you're showing me a story and then something within the story is genuinely funny, then I want to laugh.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't
And
know.
I mean, I can't, so like when we were dating and like I've talked about this with like friends and stuff, and I by no means am saying that like this was the reason he started this content. I think there was other things as well. But like
Good.
even back when we were dating, I told him that I thought doing 16 personality stuff because there was like a couple videos at the time, and I said that he was kind of pigeonholing himself in like INFJ content.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was necessarily what um made him do it. I think it was actually other things.
Hmm.
But I mean, I've had ideas for skit like 16 personality skits for like over 3 years. And I even
Hmm.
told him like my ideas at the time. But I think it's great. I think it's great what he's doing in some ways. And I think it's just a different kind of side to things. Like
Yeah.
I can't really say because I don't watch his content. I think I've watched one of his videos in the last 2 years since we broke up.
Right. Right.
So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but
Um. I mean, the last thing to really talk about for me is my modern day life, which I'm not working right now. I mean, you could call it work, but I'm mostly doing crypto shit and like learning trading, learning investing. I'm pretty much addicted to the shit. So, it's kind of like it's when you're addicted to something that makes money, you're probably never going to have to worry about money again. Like it's just how it is. If you're addicted to something that it makes you friends, you're never gonna have to think, "Well, fuck, how do I make friends again?" You see what I'm saying? So to me, I'm just hooked on crypto right now. It is what it is. Um, so that's that. Yeah, I got the COVID. Whatever. I mean, that was not something light. 2021. What do you have planned for 2021?
me?
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm moving into my apartment in early May. And this is something that I've like needed to do for a long time, but I think I was a little scared to like just like pull the trigger and just do it. Like
Hmm.
not having anybody, just being by myself, which I think I'm going to thrive. Like I do best when I'm by myself. Um I have a lot of ideas for videos.
That's
And like
good.
I think the biggest thing is, and I've always had a lot of ideas. Like I've had ideas for years. And like I said, like I have a certain 16 personality. I don't know if I already told you the video that I wanted to do back in the day, but like I've had this idea for over 3 years. And there's other ideas that I've had for like a long time. And the thing about me, I do write things down, but like I have them in my head. Like and I don't write scripts or something. It's just something that like I've always done improvised videos,
Yeah.
which I think I will start like scripting out a little bit when it comes to like maybe some things. I have plans to do like socionic stuff. I really want to get more into my TikTok. I've kind of like stagnated with like growth on TikTok, but it's like a really good community. I feel like people are really sweet on TikTok. And like I really love getting back into the YouTube grinds and
I seen
doing
the car
interviews.
videos.
Yeah, I'm gonna do more car videos too.
We love the car videos. It's
So I work from home,
that's
so
good.
yeah, so I don't have to go anywhere. It's just like when I was saying earlier that like work was running late, we were just going overtime today, and yeah, so I'm gonna be like, I think people are really going to see a difference once I'm in my own space and I'm able to have like complete creative freedom, because I am pretty confined like right now.
Yeah.
By like, and it's also just being respectful of my mom, because she doesn't like when I show the house and stuff, and like obviously the outside I would not show, but like just being a little bit more creative with things. And I think that time that I took off of YouTube, I really just didn't, I just don't give a shit about like other people on YouTube in the same
Yeah.
way that I did before. Like I don't
Yeah, I
compare
see what you
myself.
mean.
I don't compare myself to others and their numbers or something like that. I'm not trying to be approved by other people in the typology community, even though I will probably interview certain people, especially if people request it. But I don't know. So that's been pretty good. Yeah. So I am currently in a relationship as well.
That's
So
good. How long?
it's actually fairly new. Like we started dating early January.
I see. I see.
So
So, do
he's
you
an
guys live
INTJ.
nearby?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I know that was one thing you were saying. You were saying like, you know, the gap distance. I agree. Distance doesn't work. Like, you guys need to break the distance early, or it's
Yeah.
just gonna be tough. Like, distance is something that can work in the short term, but it's really not sustainable.
Well, what I would say is I really feel like it's never good to get into a long distance relationship before you meet someone. Like, I think the longer you spend getting to know someone online and don't meet up in person, I feel like that's just not going to be good. Like, there definitely is
Mhm.
I mean, you don't necessarily want to meet like some random person off of the internet right away if that's where you meet them. But like, if you live close by, like go get coffee, a drink, whatever, or meet up. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that's about it. What about you?
Still in my relationship, ENFP, been like a year and a half. So that's good. I mean, I think the ENFP is a lot more easy for me to deal with than the INFP, and let me tell you why. I think the TE being in the third slot rather than the fourth slot makes the world of difference for me not offending them. My problem with INFPs is I step on them a little too harshly too often. So let's say for the INFP, it's 20 out of every 100 things I say are offensive. The ENFP, it's only like, you know, 2 or 3 or 5, because the TE is just that much more developed. So it's not, I can still annoy the FI, but since the TE is right there to balance it in the third slot, ENFPs have a much easier time dealing with me than INFPs. So it's definitely a huge bonus, I think. She's real introverted or an extrovert. I don't they say ENFPs are the most introverted
They're like
extroverts?
definitely one of the most introverted extroverts for sure.
But then even on top of that, she generally just is pretty on the introverted side. But then again, introverted in the sense that she doesn't leave the house much, but she does socialize a lot on the web. Does that make sense? So it's
Yeah.
like the perfect balance for me, like a homebody, but also, you know, she's got that whole social giddy side to her. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just thinking about the future. You know, like I said, I mean, you can't be if you have something you want to do in life, you got to get to it.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the way I've been thinking about things lately.
I think
Um,
that's a really good perspective, and that's partly like with me. It's like you also just, and I know this isn't something that like you care about more than like say myself or like other people that are similar to me, but like I don't. I'm really trying to get to the point where I'm not like concerned about other people's opinions and like what they're thinking about me. Because before, when I used to do YouTube before, I was so concerned about how other people perceived me, or like how something was going to be perceived,
right, right.
rather than like really caring like what I wanted to do
Yeah, that's
and
what I
like
was
what
gonna
my
ask
subscribers
about.
wanted.
Like when you used to do it versus you said you came back and you care much less about like other people. What does that mean? Like elaborate on that. Like you
So I care about like my subscribers. I care about like, I mean, I care about people, but I don't care about like I mean, I don't even really know who like the big like MBTI people are now,
Right,
apart
right.
from Frank, obviously. And like maybe some of the other people that like I knew before.
Mhm.
But it's not like I'm like before, and I think you just it was also different because I had like I was in a similar, I guess, area to them, like as far as subscribers go, at the time. And like and that shouldn't I don't know. That's always been kind of weird. But like I used to like want to, not necessarily because I wanted to gain something from it, but like because I kind of thought that I would like some of these people that I was actually like becoming good friends with. And there are people that I learned along the way that I think they weren't necessarily wanting to be friends. It was almost like a business relationship.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just one person, there's been a few people like that. And
Yeah.
that was like a hard pill to swallow, I feel like.
Right, right,
But
right.
it was also something that I'm glad that I went through. And I'm not necessarily cautious about like befriending people on YouTube or whatever, but uh I'm just not like I don't know. Like I just don't care if like people don't like me or something.
Yeah, yeah. You care less about what other people think. That's good. That's important.
Yeah. So
That's good. Yeah, I was just wondering that because it does seem like a lot of things have changed since those days. So just in general, with most people, a lot of things are different now. So, but yeah, I think I pretty much touched base with everything.
yeah. And we're a little bit over an hour, so that's good. But like as far as everything goes, do you have anything that you want to shout out before we get going?
Just my channel, I guess. Check out my channel. Listen to me complain.
Yeah, I have him listed in the description.
I don't know if it's complaining. I try to bring something to the table. I don't know if I do or not,
I
but
listen.
yeah.
It's interesting. I don't think I've said this to you, but like sometimes I'll like turn on a video of yours and just like kind of have it like I'm listening to it fully, but like it's almost like I'll treat it like a podcast or something.
Yeah, they're a little long-winded. Like sometimes like I'm thinking out loud to get to the point. So I don't really know always what the point is. Maybe try listening. I actually think my videos are better listened on 1.25x speed personally. But that's cuz I talk a little slapped thinking as I go. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Something like that.
relatable. Hashtag relatable.
Something like that. Something with the NI. I'm trying to dig out. Trying to
Yeah.
dig this shit out somewhere. But yeah,
All
uh,
right, guys. Well,
it
we're
says
gonna get going, everyone.
all right, yeah, yeah.
It's
Let's
been
call it.
great.
This
I have
was fun.
another interview actually after this.
Oh, I don't want to exhaust you. I don't want to exhaust you.
Well, it's not gonna be live,
I
but
see, I
it's
see.
an interview that had to be rescheduled because we were having technical issues. But
Oh, if you want to DM me, you can find me on Telegram with the name Miserable. Okay.
oh my gosh.
So yeah,
Well, yeah, and I can leave that in the chat as well.
yeah, because someone says he wants to talk to me. So yeah, you can message me on Telegram, Miserable.
What
Thank
is
you for the
that?
kind words. Thank you for the kind words, guys.
Do you know what currency that is?
No, I don't. I
Well,
really don't.
thank you. It's very sweet.
Whatever that is. But yeah, I'll put it here.
I don't know if you can link. I think I might have.
Links off. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways.
But yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that wasn't a link, so that's good. All right, everybody, we're gonna get going.
All
Thank you
right.
guys for watching.
I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.